How many of you would like to create the retirement of your dreams? Well, welcome to the 9 steps of a dream retirement. My name is Charlie Redding, and I'm here to talk you through how you can create the retirement and later life of your dreams. Before I do that, I'd just like to say thank you for giving up your precious time to watch this presentation. I believe that time is our most valuable resource. After all, without time, what use are things like love or cars or houses or anything else? No amount of money will buy you more time, so it's an extremely precious resource that we have available to us. So I'm very grateful for you giving up some of your precious time to watch this presentation. So today we're going to cover the 9 steps to a dream retirement. We're going to look at how you can make sure that your money runs the whole length of your retirement whilst facilitating the things that you want to do in your later life and a life of your dreams. We want to make sure that it's a happy retirement full of fulfillment and purpose and passion. And we want to make sure that it's a healthy and happy and long retirement so that you can really become the best person that you can be. But before I go on to that, if it's okay with you, I'll just explain a little bit about me so that you've got an understanding of the person that's speaking to you about this topic. So I'm a farmer's son from Rutland, and I studied agriculture, but very quickly realised that I was far too soft to farm and that farming wasn't for me. So I set off on a set of travels that took me all the way around the world, and it gave me the opportunity to really explore some amazing places, some amazing cultures, but really to find out a little bit more about myself. And when I came back from travelling, all I'd really decided was that I wanted to not be in farming and I wanted to explore something new. And I fell into the world of financial services. Now initially, that was into a very commission-hungry environment where we were selling the products of just one company. And it was a very different environment to the financial services world today. But it gave me a taste of what was wrong with our industry, as well as it gave me a realisation that financial services was a fantastic opportunity and industry for me. So over time I left that world and went to the independent advisory world through what were 2 of the largest firms of independent financial advisors in the country at the time. But I then realised that whilst independent was the right way to go, all of these larger companies were ineffective and were too focused on pushing products. So gradually over time, what I realised was that I needed to do this for myself. So I left the bigger folds of larger companies and I set up my own company, which was Efficient Portfolio and Efficient Portfolio Wealth Management. Efficient Portfolio are authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. I set it up in 2005 and we're now directly authorised with the Financial Conduct Authority. We offer truly independent financial planning, and we are a chartered financial planning company which puts us in the top 7% of all advisory practices in the country. Personally, I'm a chartered financial planner, so that puts me in the top 10% of all advisors in the UK. But I also run a number of other businesses. So my exposure to the world of retirement is pretty extensive because we specialise in helping people manage their retirement. So we walk a lot of people through that retirement process every year, and we've successfully showed lots of people that didn't think that they could afford to retire, how in fact actually they can afford to retire and how they can create the life of their dreams. So retirement is something we spend a lot of time talking about. One of the things that I was talking to a client about during this sort of the planning that we do for them was, and you'll have to forgive me, these are his words, not mine, but he described life as being arse about face. What he said was that during your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, you've got your family around you, you've got your health, you've got the time and energy to be going off and doing amazing things with the people that you love and with the fitness that you need to do these things. The problem is you don't have enough money. And then later in life, what happens is that you have all the money you need to do all these amazing things, but your family's flown the nest or sadly passed away, and you don't have the fitness and energy to do all of these amazing trips that you would have liked to do. So life is also about face. You do need to manage your life in a way that can allow you to do the things that you want when you're able to do them. So retirement for me is about the key, there's three keys to generate a happy and amazing retirement. Now the first and most obvious one is money. You don't want to die the richest person in the graveyard because you haven't spent your pension quickly enough, but equally you don't want to run out of money in your 70s or your 80s or even worse, your 90s. I mean, imagine running out of money at that point and having no opportunity to be able to go out and earn any more. So money is the first real concern of people in the lead up to an retirement. But there's also, having spoken to a lot of people about this, two other key areas that really concern people. The first is what they do with their time. Work gives them an enormous amount of structure and reward and purpose and all that sort of stuff. But when you take that away, are you going to sit at home getting bored? Is your wife going to go crazy because you're suddenly hanging around the house when you've always been out at work? All of these sorts of things start to become really big concerns for the family in the lead up to retirement. And as well as that, the number of times I've heard people that are close to retirement saying, I've got to get fit, I've got to improve my well-being. We all know too many cases of people that have got to retirement and they only last a few years. They become a shadow of their former self. They lose their health, they lose their energy, they lose their drive, and they lose their enthusiasm. And nobody wants this to happen to them, but it's all too common. So we need to look at how we can boost our well-being in retirement, not see it fall and slip away. So these are the three key areas that I think we need to focus on in retirement. And really, I think if we look at it, look at how these interact together, only if we get the money side of retirement right, the time side of retirement right, and the well-being side of retirement right, can you create your dream retirement. So before we go into those three specific areas, I'd like you to ask you to go through an exercise with me. So I'd like you to grab a pen and paper. And once you've got that pen and paper, I would like you to spend a couple of minutes thinking about the following question. So I would like you to think about if you had all the money that you needed to be financially secure for the rest of your life, how would you live your life differently? So if you had all the money that you needed to be financially secure for the rest of your life, how would you live your life differently? And let your thoughts run wild on this one. Don't hold back. So please spend a couple of minutes writing down how would you live your life differently in that situation. Go. Okay, thank you for carrying out that exercise. I hope that started to get you thinking about what your dream retirement might start to look like. Some of those things that really kind of are the bits, the things in life that you would change today. How did you want to live your life differently? So now I want to tell you about the three key areas within the money side of retirement the three key steps that will lead to the dream retirement. So I think those three key steps are, firstly, the clarity. There is nothing worse than dying the richest man in the graveyard, but also you don't want to run out of money in your 70s and 80s when you really have little opportunity to go back to work. Imagine running out of money in your 80s when you're not going to go off and do many income generating activities at that point. So it's vital that you don't run out of money, but it's also vital that you do the things you can afford to do when you're capable of doing them. And too many times people leave it too late to do what would have been their bucket list, and they do die the richest person in the graveyard. So having the clarity of your future, of your financial future, is vital to creating the dream retirement. Only if you know how your money is going to last you and the type of income structure that you need in the future, can you plan a retirement that delivers the things that are important to you in the future. So we need to look at how you build clarity into your retirement. The second thing is that because retirement involves money, it involves risk versus return. Now, the general relationship of risk versus return is the more risk you take, the higher the return. But the more likelihood of there being problems along the way and the more likelihood of being a bumpier ride. So we need to understand how we control risk versus return. And the third area that I think is the key step towards a dream retirement is your income strategy. How you deliver an income in retirement, whether that's the sort of income that allows you to do your bucket list in the future, at the start of retirement, or travelling every year for the rest of your life, is up to you. But the problem with the old style of retiring is it worked on the premise that you were as likely to go off and climb Kilimanjaro at 95 as you were at 65. And we all know that's completely crazy. So we need to understand the income strategy to make sure that A, we're paying less tax, and B, we have the income that we need when we need it. So I'm going to talk through each of these different areas because these are the first 3 steps to a dream retirement. And to do that, I want to tell you a little story. Now, when I first came back from travelling, as I said, I moved to London, and I'd got a few friends in London from my university days and from my travelling experiences. And me and 2 friends of mine decided we were going to go down from London down to Brighton for a party that we'd heard about. Now, we lived in Chiswick at the time, which is in southwest London, and in case you don't know, Brighton is south of London. So we thought, this is not going to be difficult. So we jumped in the car. We didn't have a map, and this was long before the days of satellite navigation systems and Google Maps on your phone. But we thought, we live in West London. We're only going southwest. We know that there's motorways that head in that direction. We'll be fine. We'll be able to work it out with the road signs along the way. Well, we set off, and I won't prejudge the fact that I was driving, but my 2 companions were both female. I'm sure that didn't influence the rest of this story at all. But basically we set off and we started looking for road signs, and we didn't see any signs immediately that said that they were going to take us to Brighton, but we did see signs to the M3 and to Portsmouth, so we thought actually that's in the right direction, we'll follow those. What we found was that over time we still didn't see signs to Brighton, and we realised that we were getting further and further from the route that we needed to be on. The journey from London, from Chiswick to Brighton, should take about an hour and a half. An hour and a half into the journey, we still hadn't seen a sign for Brighton, and we were really not very sure where we were, and we were a bit lost. So we had to go through the undignified exercise of pulling into a service station and saying, firstly, can we buy a road map? And secondly, could you tell us which page and where on that page we are at the moment, because we're completely clueless as to what we've been up to for the last hour and a half. So the shop attendant very kindly pointed us out, much to his amusement, and it took us another hour and a half to get from where we were to Brighton. So we'd taken a total of 3 hours to get from London to Brighton instead of the 1.5 that it should have taken had we done a little bit more preparation. Now you may be wondering, why on earth are you telling me this story? Well, the problem is that most people manage their finances in the way that we managed that journey to Brighton and the party. What they do is they make decisions based on very short-term time frames, and they don't look at the longer-term time frame. But also, they don't have enough long-term ability to sort of see what's going to be happening in the future. So if we were going to do that journey today, and we were going to be a bit more organised and a bit older and a bit wiser, then how would we go about it? Well, if we were really organised, what we would do is we would look at the map beforehand, and we'd get a clear understanding of the route that was best to be taken. And then what we would do is we would program our destination into a satellite navigation system, so that our sat-nav could A, guide us on those turns, but B, if something happened that took us off that route, it could redirect us back onto that route. So if there was a road closure, it would keep us back on track. Well, in the world of finance, what is your sat-nav? Well, your sat-nav is a tool called a lifetime cash flow forecast. A lifetime cash flow forecast is a tool that maps out your life from a financial perspective. It builds a roadmap from between now and the day that you die. And we can't tell you when that day will be, you'll be disappointed to hear, but we work on the assumption that everybody lives to 100. So it will build a roadmap from now to the day that you reach your 100th birthday, and it will map out whether you're likely to have too much money, not enough money, how you can spend your money, when you can spend your money, and allow you to model different scenarios. So I want to show you a little bit about what a lifetime cash flow forecast looks like. So the first chart on a lifetime cash flow forecast is all about your income versus your expenditure. So on the left here, you can see somebody that has more than sufficient income to meet their expenditure. The black line that runs along the very top is their expenditure, and the blue blocks are their available income for each year. As you can see, the blue blocks always reach the black line, and therefore their expenditure is met by their income. The person on the right, however, has big chunks of red towards the end of their life in retirement, and that's because the black line is above the blue blocks that they have available for their income. So it firstly identifies times when you're not going to have sufficient income and allows you to see when you will have sufficient income. The second type of chart that we use most commonly with a lifetime cash flow forecast is the liquid assets chart. So that last chart was showing you your income versus your expenditure for each year for the rest of your life. This one shows the value of your investments and your liquid assets, so your investments, your savings and your pensions during that same period of time. So you can see on the left, the person's assets are continually growing, so they're going to die the richest man in the graveyard with a big inheritance tax liability. The person on the right is running out of money very quickly, hence the reason for them running out of income later on. So this explains what you're seeing in the income and expenditure chart, but both allow you to look at ways that you can plan your finances and your financial future better. So the lifetime cash flow forecast is a fantastic tool for giving you the clarity that you need for the rest of your life. It will tell you whether you're saving enough for your retirement or whether you need to save more. If you need to save more, how much more do you need to save? It allows you to model different scenarios to say, what if I decide to retire at 60 instead of 65? What if I decide to downsize at 75? What if I send my children to public education rather than state? Or what if I do the same for my grandchildren? All of those scenarios can be modelled into a lifetime cash flow forecast to make sure that you have complete clarity on your financial future. So the second part of the money problem with retirement is risk versus reward. And within risk versus reward, there's 8 investment mistakes that I think are absolutely key that people tend to make. Now, I haven't got time to go through those 8 investment mistakes, but the problem is, in summary, that most people take more risk than they realise. Most people take more risk than they should do, and that costs them a lot of money when it comes to their retirement. So managing the risk versus reward of their retirement is vitally important to delivering them the right type of income. Now, that's going to change over time. Most people end up taking gradually more and more and more and more risk as they get towards retirement. Actually, what you should do is gradually take less and less risk, but not taking no risk unless you're going to use a certain type of income strategy called an annuity. Managing your investments is vital because whether you're paying money in on a monthly basis or whether you're drawing money out in retirement will have a huge impact on the effect of the different levels of risk that you have the opportunity to take. So it's really important that you don't make those 8 investment mistakes. For example, one of them is that people assume that putting the money into the bank is the safest place for it. The problem is, whilst the capital doesn't go down, if inflation is higher than that capital, than the interest rate, then actually that money is going down in real terms. What you can buy with that money is going down year on year. In fact, if we look at what happened to your money with a decent savings account versus inflation between 2009 and 2013, your money dropped by quite a substantial amount. Now, you didn't notice that because it was in the bank showing you the same amount of money, but what you could buy with it was falling each year. So there is no such thing as no risk. Even in a bank account, you have things like inflation risk. It's about trying to find the right risk-reward solution for your appetite to risk and your requirement for income in the future. Finally, there's the right investment strategy that we need to look at. On the risk and reward side of things, the right investment strategy is about building a diversified portfolio Obviously, the level of risk that you put into that portfolio depends on everybody's situation. As I say, on your tolerance to risk and also on your situation's demands. Just because you're willing to take that amount of risk, if you can achieve everything you want by only taking this amount of risk, why would you not do that? Why would you take the extra risk to potentially blow up the plan if you could take less risk and still have everything you want for the rest of your life? So getting the investment strategy is absolutely right. And that's where designing a proper, diversified portfolio, firstly compared to returns that you'll see in cash over the long term, is likely to deliver much, much better value for money. But also, it's about using the right type of investment managers and the right type of investment approach to deliver consistently better returns and provide protection in the downtimes whilst providing good returns in the upsides. That is the key to good investment management. It's done through what's called a diversified portfolio. We haven't got time to talk about that now, but it's vital to your retirement planning. Then finally, the right type of income strategy. As I said, the old type of retirement was worked on the premise that you were as likely to climb Kilimanjaro at 95 as you were at 65. That's crazy. We all know that we want more income at the start than we do at the end, but we want to make sure that we don't run out of money at the end, particularly if we're going to go into a care home. So it's about planning the right type of income strategy for your dream retirement. Now that might look something like this. You might have a few early years of retirement doing your bucket list, going off and doing Kilimanjaro, Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat, whatever it is that flicks your switch. Over time, probably you'll become a little bit tired of that, and so maybe those trips will become every other year. And probably from something like 75 or 80, you'll start to do much more conservative trips, and you'll start to need less and less income gradually each year. So designing a retirement strategy that makes sure you don't run out of money if you live to 98, but that allows you to maximise on the fun in the years when you're fit and healthy enough to do so, is the right income strategy for you. Not only because it delivers the life that you want, but also it delivers you the ability, if the right income strategy, it delivers you the ability to reduce the amount of tax that you pay compared to the traditional way of retiring. So the right income strategy for you is absolutely vital. One of the key components of that income strategy is what's called a wrap platform. It used to be that we had lots of ISAs over here and several pensions over here from different companies and a few shares and investment trusts and unit trusts and things like that. And maybe if you'd been to see the bank, they'd sold you an investment bond or two. So we had all of these money invested all over the place. And it's a pain in the backside to manage your money when it's all like that. You can't manage the investments properly. So one of the ways that we manage clients' money is on what's called a wrap platform. We still use the same tax efficient wrappers that we've looked at there. So the ISAs, the pensions, the shares, the bonds, where they're right. But what we do is we manage them in one centralised place on what's called a wrap platform. That means that firstly, you can look at one statement and see all of your investments in one place. The second thing you can do is you can apply one investment approach to that whole solution. Instead of having different investment approaches for every one of those different solutions, we want to say, well, if this is the ideal portfolio for you, then we want to apply it to all of those different tax wrappers. And it doesn't mean that we have to have the same level of risk for each one, but we can do. It means you can monitor your investments much, much better. It means that you can rebalance your investments much better to ensure that they don't get more risky over time. It means you can get valuations all in one place, and you can monitor the performance that you're getting in one centralised place. When you've got pensions and ISAs dotted all over the place, it's unlikely you're going to do every year look at how the investment performance doing of these individual accounts compared to the others that I have available. When it's all in one place, it's really easy and transparent. It's simple, and when you come to draw an income, you've got much more flexibility around how you do that. So a wrap platform is a key tool that we use to allow people to manage their money better. So enough of money for now. I want to ask you a second question. I want to ask you to complete another exercise. So if you can get your pen and paper handy, I'd be grateful. What I'd like you to answer is I want you to imagine you went to see your doctor and your doctor said you've got between 5 and 10 years left to live. Now you're not going to feel sick during this time, but equally you're not going to know when your time is up. So just to recap, you've gone to see your doctor and your doctor says you've got between 5 and 10 years left to live. You're not going to feel sick during that time, but equally, you're not going to know when your time is up. Okay, great. Now hopefully that's started to focus your mind a little bit more acutely than in that first exercise. Starting to think about what really is important to you. What would you really need to do in that 5 or 10 years that was really important to you? Now we're starting to focus on some of the things that would definitely need to be in your dream retirement. So what I want to do now is I want to tell you another little story. When I was running Efficient Portfolio, I got an opportunity to develop, I needed a bigger office for Efficient Portfolio, and I moved into a farmhouse and there was a redundant hay barn on the farm. And we needed bigger offices and we had this lovely old stone barn, so we decided to convert it into offices. Now, this sort of thing is really up my street. I love business planning, so I was throwing everything into Efficient Portfolio 9 to 5, but then I'd go home, have tea with the girls, put the girls to bed, and then I would go back to work. So Carol wouldn't see me again for the rest of the night. I'd go back into the office and I'd probably work from say 7:30 through till about midnight and sometimes way beyond that. And I was planning this new business, which is now called the Rural Business Community. And I love this sort of stuff. But what I found was after a time, whilst I was enjoying the work that I was doing, I really started to get very low, have lots less energy, just really became a shadow of my former self, really. And actually it was at a strange time because it was the time when really it should have been the most exciting time. It was the time when we were doing the launch and all of those sorts of things. And I went to a breakfast meeting and somebody was speaking there that said, when you get stressed or when you get busy, you stop doing the things that kept you stress-free in the first instance. And so it's a vicious circle. The more busy you get, the more you stop doing of the things that were keeping you happy and energized. So that makes you worse, so you stop doing more things, etc., etc. And it made me think, do you know what? I've stopped playing squash, I've stopped playing golf. I need to get some more balance back into my life. So with that newfound knowledge, I went off and started playing my squash. Now I still work the same number of hours in the day, still spent quality time with my family, but I managed to squeeze in at least a couple of games of squash a week or a game of golf or something like that. And what I found was suddenly, bang, I was back to my old self. And what had happened was whilst I'd got low, when looking back, what had happened was I had got loads of one particular area of my life that I really enjoyed, but I'd started losing another area of my life that really kept me fit and energized. And the reason I want to tell you this is because I think that the balance of what we do with our time is vitally important. If you're mad keen on golf, then golf in retirement will be fantastic. But if you do nothing but golf, you'll find that the golf is less fantastic and actually you're less fantastic. You need to get a balance of different types of activities to deliver you a truly happy retirement. And that's why you need to put some thought into what you do with your time in the lead up to and in retirement. Don't just let it go and think it'll happen as you get there. Really put some thought into it. Now this is what the Rural Business Community now looks like, and this is the home of Efficient Portfolio, so we're very lucky to work in such a beautiful office environment, and the team really love that. So there's a guy called Professor Dr. Zeimler, and he did some research on some blue-collar workers that were being forced to retire early, and there was, I won't bore you with all of the detail, but it basically presented an opportunity to look at the impact that retiring early had on people's life expectancy. Now this is one piece of research in this area. I've actually seen several that confirm the same thing. What Dr. Zeimler found was that for every year somebody retired early, it took 2 months off their life expectancy. Now we all crave retiring early, but actually it turns out it's not very good for our health. It turns out we're not very good at retiring early. Now I suppose to a certain extent that's because in retirement, every day is a Saturday. There's no reason to not drink, there's no reason to not laze around the house, there's no reason to do anything, because every day is a Saturday. And so it's worth putting thought into how you spend your time to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. So I think really there's 3 key steps to making sure that your time is focused and delivering you what will make you happy in the future. The first is your purpose or bucket list, call it whichever you will. So the bucket list is those things that you definitely want to go off and do for the rest of your life. Now, people usually think of that as trips and experiences. That's not necessarily the case. It could be spending more time with your grandchildren. It could be helping the local community. Really understanding your purpose and what you want to achieve for the rest of your life is vitally important, because it is a lack of purpose that leaves people feeling lost in retirement. But it's also about the balance that I've just talked about, the balance of activities that you do in retirement. If you do lots of one particular type of thing, but nothing of another type, then you will feel less happy. And finally, it's the activities that you do in retirement, the different types of activities. So I want to ask you one more question of this type. I'd like you to think now that you go back to see your doctor. Now, this is going to sound like a similar question to the last one, but it is different. I want you to imagine you go back to see your doctor, and this time your doctor says you've got 1 day left to live. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about, what are you thinking about during that day? Not what are you doing, but what are you thinking about? What are your thoughts during that day, your last day? What are you thinking about? What did you miss? What did you not get to be? What did you not get to do? Really start to think about what thoughts would be going through your head as you confronted your mortality. I'll give you a couple of minutes again to write some notes on that question. Again, hopefully gradually as these questions have gone on, you're starting to look more and more closely at what's important to you in your life. That will help you plan your future much, much better. So I want to take you now on to the 3rd key step to creating your dream retirement, and that's well-being. And I'm a big fan of doing lots of different learning activities, going off and finding different courses and different speakers and different trainers to constantly try and be the best that I can be. And one of the things I've done is an event called Unleash the Power Within with a crazy American guy called Tony Robbins. An amazing course that I can't recommend highly enough. It's a 4-day event, but it's known for the firewalk. So you and the 6,000 other people are on this event, yes, 6,000, do a firewalk. Not on the 4th night of the event, but actually on the 1st night. So it starts on the Friday lunchtime. By 11 o'clock on the Friday night, you've done the firewalk. Now, what that's all about is it's about getting you to a position where you think, do you know what, if I can do that, I can conquer anything this weekend. And boy, does it work. Because as I went through that time, now at this time in my life, I wasn't really unhealthy, but I also wasn't particularly healthy. I was probably a couple of stone above my fighting weight, and I, ate reasonably healthy food, but I was also the sort of person that said I couldn't eat a salad because it would never fill me up. After we did the firewalk, we went through a number of different exercises, and I won't really share those with you because I don't want to spoil the event in case you ever do it. But I really started getting a feel for what was important to me in the future, and also what limiting beliefs I had at that time that could cost me those really important things. And one of the conclusions that I drew was that my health and my well-being was not of a high enough standard that 20 years from now I would be able to live the life that I wanted to live. I was concerned that 20 years from now my health would have gradually gone down and down and down and down and down. My fitness would have gone gradually down and down and down and down, and I wouldn't be able to live the life that I wanted to live at that point. So I made some really fundamental changes to my life. Now, 3 years on, I've barely been sick. I'm as fit and healthy as I've ever been. I understand what I eat much better, and yet I don't rule anything out of my diet. I can still eat and drink everything that I want, but on my terms and in my system. And creating and understanding the things that will generate amazing well-being for the future for you is vitally important if you don't want to be that person that withers and dies soon after retirement. So I think there are 6 steps to a healthy and happy retirement. The first is to create massive amounts of energy. Now this is all about what you eat. The second is to deacidify your blood. Now when you put the wrong things into your body, you acidify your blood. Your blood should be naturally slightly alkaline. Most people's blood is actually slightly acidic. What then happens is it becomes more gloopy and thick, doesn't flow as well, it provides less energy to the cells and gradually become less and less well conditioned. So recorrecting your blood back to slightly acidic is a really important way of boosting your well-being. Most people don't drink enough water, but it's about drinking the right amount of water that will leave your body in the condition that it needs to be. And so there's ways of calculating that. Most people consume and expose themselves to too many toxins. For example, aluminium. It's in most of our cosmetic products, or certainly things like the deodorants. Aluminium is shown to be a serious risk of being a significant cause in cancer. It's, a carcinogenic product in the wrong form. And so why would we, if we know that, why would we go and put it on our skin every day and sometimes several times? So it's about understanding where the toxins are in the modern day life and eliminating them where possible. Because if you can eliminate a lot of the risks, you've got a significantly better chance of not being exposed to some of these awful things like cancer, for example. Then it's about creating simple rules. Once you've understood the rules of the game, it's about laying them out in really simple terms. I have a really simple rule. I used to have simple rules. Now I have one really simple rule, which is I live by a particular diet and lifestyle 5 days a week, and I have 2 days off. And within that, I need to get 5 lots of what I would call my morning routine exercise, and I need to get 4 lots of decent active exercise. That's where my rules lie. Now it's taken me a long time to refine it down to that rule, but I've only done it by understanding the key, the way it works for me. And finally, the exercise is for you. You can't just, as I said with the golf, you can't just do one type of exercise. You obviously need to do the right type of exercises for you, but if you only do aerobic exercises, or i.e. Ones where you could still hold a conversation, like playing golf, and lots of conversation, or if you only do anaerobic exercises like weights, where you can't talk during the actual activity, then your body won't be nearly as good as if you do a combination of the two. So well-being is really all about getting the right healthy you, but it's also about your mind, how you get your mind into the right shape, and about your relationships, how you create the most amazing relationships possible. When it comes to the mind, it's about stimulating the left brain, which is all of the sort of numbers and science and reason, and the right brain, which is all the creative passion, learning, thinking, all of those sorts of things. If you stimulate both sides of the brain, you will be a much happier person. And then finally, when it comes to things like relationships, it's not just about strengthening these relationships, it's about leaving a legacy, not a will. A will says this is what I want to do, a legacy says, isn't this amazing? How can you leave a legacy of all the things that you've learned and all the things that you've accumulated and created throughout your life's work? How can you leave that as a legacy rather than just as a will? That is part of creating amazing relationships. So I'm sure by now you can see there are a lot of factors that will decide and determine whether you create your dream retirement or whether it's one where you're broke, bored, and maybe even a brief existence. So if it's okay with you, I would like to take a few minutes to explain about how we think we can best help you really create your dream retirement. And it's with an event that we are soon hosting that's called a Dream Retirement Bootcamp. Now, the problem is there's an awful lot to learn in this subject, so just cramming this into a 1-hour session or doing it with a financial planner is just too time consuming. So by doing it in a boot camp over a weekend, we can really spend time with you delivering and making you think and walking you through processes that will allow you to understand how you can create your dream retirement, the perfect later life for you. So it's called the Dream Retirement Bootcamp. And what we'll do is we'll go through things like the lifetime cash flow forecast and show you how you can create a lifetime cash flow forecast and how to understand what it is telling you once you've got it. We'll go through the 8 investment mistakes that I mentioned earlier, where we'll identify how you can make sure that you get the best returns for a level of risk that you're comfortable with, and that you don't make these silly investment mistakes that will cost your retirement fund dearly. We'll go through the right investment strategy, so how best to make your money that you've saved work for you. And we'll go through the right income strategy, so we'll look at how you can pay less tax in retirement and maximise the money that you've accumulated whilst delivering you the lifestyle that you want. And we'll look at how you're going to spend your time in retirement. We'll help you create the bucket list of your dreams. We'll help you understand what your purpose is in later life so that you can live out this to the max. We'll help you understand how you balance the different activities that you do and about how this can create you an amazingly happy retirement. And we'll walk you through the 6 steps to a healthy life 2.0, as well as understanding and explaining and helping you build different activities to stimulate both the left and the right brain. And finally, we'll help you make sure that you build a legacy and not just a will. Now, over the last 10 years, I'm a big believer that one, it's so important to constantly attend workshops and seminars and things like that to improve the way I live my life, the way I run the business, and to just continually grow. So over the last 10 years, I've attended some amazing events with people like Tony Robbins, the crazy American guy that makes me walk on hot coals, strategic coach. I've attended life planning workshops with George Kinder, Blair Singer, T. Harv Eker, a whole range of different people. And I've worked out that over the last 10 years, I've spent over £47,000 on courses and coaching to learn the material I'm going to be sharing with you in this program. Now, I don't tell you that figure to impress you, I tell you to impress upon you the importance that I place on planning these sorts of things in my life. So the good news is my course, the bootcamp, is not going to cost you anything like the amount of money that I've spent on training and coaching over the last few years. The bootcamp, when it's fully up and running, will be £1,997 per person. Plus, we'll give you a free copy of the Dream Retirement book worth £32. But I want to do you, as a viewer on thedreamretirement.com, a better deal on that. So here's what I would like to do for you. The total package is worth £2,036, but I would like to give you a place on the Dream Retirement Bootcamp for free. Yes, that's for free. Amazing. There's one thing that I would like to do, and that's I would like you to pay for the cost of the materials and also for the cost of the lunch and the venue, if that's okay. So the course will be free, but we would just ask for a contribution of £197 for you to be able to come along, and so that we're not buying you lunch and paying for the venue on your behalf. Hopefully you think that's fair. As well as that though, what I would also be happy to do is to offer you a free place for a friend. So that's not another £197, that's an extra bonus place for a friend. And as I say, this will include an amazing lunch full of all the healthy principles that we'll talk about on the event. as well as giving you a great opportunity to interact with other people that are at a similar stage in their life. So we'll give you that offer to give the free place to a friend of yours. Now there might be some of you that are saying, well, really, the boot camp isn't the right thing for me. I would rather just do the financial planning side of it. I think I'm happy with the time and the well-being side of my life, and I'm happy to just leave that to you. So if that's the case, then I'd just like to spend a couple of minutes explaining what we can do for you at Efficient Portfolio with regards to your financial planning. So the first thing we would do is we would offer you an exploration meeting. Now that meeting is worth £197, but we will give you that for free because you've watched this event. That will mean that we spend an hour and a half with you, really getting an understanding of what's important to you in the future and your concern, what your concerns are about now and how we can help. At the end of that meeting, if you want our help, we'll go away and build you your own bespoke financial plan, which we call the Efficient Financial Plan. We charge a flat fee to do that, and I'll be able to tell you at the end of the first meeting what that fee is, just as soon as I know what's involved. But we offer 100% money back guarantee on that plan. So if you were to get the plan and think, actually, this really isn't what I was looking for, then you can exercise your right to use the 100% money back guarantee. Now, included in that fee is a planning meeting. So that planning meeting means that once you've had a chance to read the plan, and we'll send it to you both electronically and in the post, we'll get back together and we'll be able to answer any questions that you've got and basically make sure that you understand all of the planning. We can look at different scenarios on your lifetime cash flow forecast and just make sure you're happy with everything we're talking about. At that point, we can go away and implement any of the ideas that you like. Now that isn't where the process ends. It is with a lot of firms, and you kind of drift away and they'll forget about you until you need help in the future. But we don't believe that that's the right way to manage your financial planning. So we've got a number of tiers of ongoing service to make sure that your financial planning evolves with you rather than gradually stagnating over time. So at Efficient Portfolio, we love helping you achieve more of what you love. And we would love to hear from you. So if you would like to get in contact with Efficient Portfolio, you can do so by picking up the telephone on 01572 898060 or emailing us at inquiry@efficientportfolio.co.uk. Equally, if you would like to come to the bootcamp, and it will be an amazing event, and I promise you will love it, then please click the link below and register here. Thank you. So hopefully you think that's fair, just to charge you for what it costs us to put you there. But not only that, there's an extra thing that we can offer you. We would like you to invite or bring a friend or your spouse or a family member with you, and you can bring them for free.